Imagine packing your life into 2 suitcases, flying across the Atlantic, confident that your experience, your degree, your polished elevator pitch will open doors instantly, only to sit in a quiet office in London, shake hands politely, answer every question with bold American confidence, and still get rejected. Not once, not twice, but again, and again. And this is the story of an American in shock after failing multiple UK interviews. And what no one tells you about the cultural differences between US versus UK workplace culture until it's too late. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. When Jake landed in the UK, he thought he had it figured out. Back home in Chicago, he had crushed interviews. He was charismatic, direct, results-driven. He knew how to sell himself. That's what you're supposed to do in America, right? Highlight your wins, own your achievements, show confidence. But what works in the US doesn't always translate when you're working in the UK as an American. His first UK job interview felt promising. The recruiter sounded friendly but reserved. The office atmosphere? Calm, almost understated. No loud introductions, no big personalities dominating the room. Just polite smiles and measured conversation. Jake walked in, ready to impress. Firm handshake, strong eye contact. He launched into his accomplishments with energy. I increased revenue by 40%. I led a team of 12. I completely transformed our strategy. In an American interview, that lands powerfully. In that UK job interview, it landed differently. The interviewers nodded politely. They wrote notes, they didn't interrupt. But something felt off. They didn't match his enthusiasm. They didn't lean in. They didn't ask follow-ups that hyped him up. Instead, they asked calm, situational questions. Can you describe a time you supported your team during a difficult period? How did you ensure collaboration across departments? The focus wasn't on him as a star, it was on the team. On balance, on humility. He walked out thinking he nailed it. 2 days later, rejection email. We regret to inform you. That's when the confusion started. Why would Americans struggle in UK interviews if they're qualified? What interview mistakes do Americans make in the UK without even realizing it? Second interview. Different company, same result. This time he toned it down slightly, but he still spoke with American directness. When asked about salary expectations, he confidently stated a high figure and justified it. In the US, negotiating early can show you know your worth. In that UK workplace culture setting, it felt premature. The tone shifted, the conversation cooled, another rejection followed. And here's where the cultural differences between US versus UK really started to show. In America, confidence is currency. In the UK, confidence is appreciated, but understatement is respected. There's a subtle line between self-assured and self-promoting, and for many Americans in UK job interviews, that line is invisible. By the third interview, doubt crept in. Maybe it was his CV. American resumes are often achievement-heavy, bold, packed with action verbs and numbers. UK CV style tends to be more structured, slightly more formal, and often less aggressively self-promotional. Even spelling differences, organization versus organization, can subconsciously signal outsider status. Small detail? Maybe. But in competitive hiring markets, small details matter. Then came the feedback that changed everything. After his fourth rejection, one hiring manager finally offered insight. You're clearly capable, she said gently. But sometimes you come across as intense. We value confidence here, but we also value collaboration and modesty. Intense? Back home, intense was a compliment. This is the part no one talks about when discussing working in the UK as an American. It's not about qualifications, it's about tone, delivery, cultural rhythm. In US interviews, energy can win the room. In UK job interviews, calm competence often speaks louder. Think about humor. In America, enthusiasm and expressive storytelling are common. In the UK, humor is drier, subtler. Self-deprecation can actually build rapport. When asked about a weakness, Jake gave a polished corporate answer about working too hard. In the UK context, that sounded rehearsed. When a British candidate says, I can be overly detailed at times, my team teases me about it. With a slight smile, it feels more human, more relatable. Another twist? Hierarchy perception. In many US workplaces, speaking boldly, even to senior leaders, is normal. In UK workplace culture, there's often a quieter respect for hierarchy, even if it's subtle. Jake's direct challenges to hypothetical leadership scenarios may have seemed assertive in the US, but slightly abrasive in a British setting. And here's the 7-minute turning point most viewers don't expect. It wasn't just the interview style, it was mindset. Jake walked into interviews thinking, how do I stand out? UK employers were thinking, how will this person fit? That single shift explains why Americans struggle in UK interviews more than they anticipate. Fit, tone, subtlety. In his next interview, he slowed down. When asked about success, he said, I was fortunate to work with a great team. We managed to increase revenue together. Same achievement, different framing. He asked thoughtful questions about company culture instead of leading with negotiation. He mirrored the interviewer's calm pace. He allowed pauses instead of filling silence with enthusiasm. And something interesting happened. The atmosphere softened. The conversation felt balanced. It wasn't a performance anymore. It was a dialogue. This isn't about saying one culture is better. It's about understanding differences. Cultural differences between US versus UK hiring practices can be subtle but powerful. Americans are taught to market themselves boldly. Brits often appreciate quiet capability. Americans may see modesty as underselling. Brits may see strong self-promotion as arrogance. Even feedback culture differs. In the US, feedback can be direct. You need to improve this. In the UK, it might be layered. You might consider adjusting. If you're not used to that nuance, you can misread signals entirely. By the 6th interview, Jake finally received an offer. But here's the real lesson. It wasn't because he became less qualified. It was because he became culturally aware. If you're an American in the UK, or planning to be one, ask yourself, are you adapting your communication style? Are you reading the room? Are you focusing on collaboration over individual dominance? Are you understanding that UK workplace culture often values subtlety over spectacle? And if you're British watching this, have you noticed these differences when interviewing Americans? Do they come across as confident or overwhelming? Honest question, drop it in the comments. Because this conversation isn't about stereotypes, it's about awareness. Global careers mean global adjustment. And sometimes the biggest interview mistake Americans make in the UK isn't a lack of skill, it's assuming the rules are the same everywhere. Jake's shock wasn't about rejection. It was about realizing that success formulas don't travel unchanged. What wins applause in New York might raise eyebrows in London. What feels assertive in Texas might feel excessive in Manchester. Working in the UK as an American requires recalibration. Listening more than speaking. Showing competence without overselling. Letting achievements breathe instead of amplifying them. The irony? Once he adapted, he didn't lose himself. He expanded himself. He learned to operate in 2 cultural gears instead of 1. And maybe that's the deeper message here. Global mobility isn't just about visas and flights. It's about emotional intelligence, cultural fluency, the humility to learn. So if you've ever felt confused after a UK job interview, if you've ever thought, but I said all the right things, maybe you did, just not in the right tone. If this story resonated with you, whether you're American, British, or somewhere in between, comment your experience below. Have you noticed these cultural differences in interviews? Did you have to adjust your style abroad? And if you want more deep dives into cultural differences US versus UK, workplace stories, and cross-Atlantic realities, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because sometimes the biggest shocks aren't about ability. They're about understanding the room you're standing in. Just when Jake thought he had cracked the code, reality hit him again, this time outside the interview room. Landing a job in the UK didn't automatically mean he fit in. The workplace culture he had read about online and imagined during his preparation was different when lived day to day. Meetings moved slower. Decisions weren't rushed. People spoke politely, even when disagreeing. The directness he valued in American offices sometimes came across as abrupt. And yet, when he adapted, subtle wins started to appear. Colleagues smiled more, conversations felt smoother, and he realized collaboration was quietly celebrated over self-promotion. One day, a casual coffee chat with his team revealed the biggest cultural shock yet. He asked a colleague about career progression, expecting a direct, aggressive roadmap, like back in the US. Instead, she laughed softly and said, "We usually let performance speak for itself. You'll find your way if you contribute consistently and build trust." That moment clicked something in Jake. He realized that in the UK, patience, humility, and subtlety